Rahabat Musard, and welcome to another live reading. Our scroll for today will be Master Secret Series number 1, Birth of Earth and the Matrix. Those are two scrolls in one. So our course of action, let's do some breathing exercises together. We're going to chant for each other. We're going to acknowledge our master teacher who sits as a nucleus, bringing us all together in the sacred circle of Ashuk, divine love. And we're going to get right into our reading. So before we start reading, let's start breathing together. All right, so let's all stand. All right, we're going to do just a smile breath. And you're just going to take inventory of your energy. You're going to take inventory physically, where are you? Mentally, where are you? Emotionally, where are you? You're going to bring yourself all in alignment back to center. All right, so let's just acknowledge Ata pa taruk, lae rawuk, emyanun. Ata pa babab la yehu. Open the way to the soul of Yanun. Open the door towards him. Notice him, we're talking about that inward journey. All right. That journey is inward. Paut. Oh. So we're going to take a moment to acknowledge the all within ourselves, our physical, our mental, our emotional body. Where is it? All right. Let's bring that back to center with a smile breath. Whatever tension that's in your physical body, you're going to breathe through it. Feel your shoulders just relax. You're going to take a deep breath, allowing your diaphragm to relax. The anxiety, all right, that's typically held in the stomach. You're going to feel yourself relax. You're going to feel your emotional body come down. Your thoughts, whatever's in the future, whatever's in the past, you're going to feel yourself centering in the right now. So bring it into right now in your breath. And you're going to take a deep breath in, letting yourself expand downward, outward, and upward. They're all expanding. And breathe it out. That's what your breath does. Feels like this. That's a basic smile breath. All right. And I'm feeling myself getting warm. So I'm just going to turn on my fan. Sometimes the breath warms us up because it helps the circulation. All right. So there's 3 breaths that Bible says to do. That's the nerve revitalizing breath, our nervous system, which is the seat of our emotional body. That's our seat of our willpower. All right, because we need our willpower to process thoughts. Baba is our transmitter, and what your cells do as well, it transmits messages from one cell to another. So your nervous system, and your very neurons, they all have to be charged up so they can deliver the messages. All right, so you can process thoughts. All right, understand, comprehend one message to another message, one cell body to another cell body, one person to person. That's all nerve force. All right. Your senses, your sensibility, that's all nerve force, your decision making. So Bible says to do that exercise every day, the nerve revitalizing breath. Do the cleansing breath every day to ventilate your lungs, and do the vocal breath every day. All right, as we take our voices back to tell our own story. Those are our 3 breaths. There's much more than 3. And we also like to add in exercise number 6, as it reminds us to remain graceful to the ever appearances of life, because why? The one constant is change. So let's start by thanking our Nadar, Sabab. That's the solid, the mass, the earth, Sabab. All right. And you're going to notice in Sababs, movements, the appearances of the rising and the falling, the appearances of life, from your growth to your reclining, to your likes and your dislikes. All right. What you gravitate to, what you pull away from. That's all the movements of life. And we remember to use the all expanding in its proper place and time as we move through time and we come back to center. All right. So let's acknowledge our Nadada Sabab. As we acknowledge Sabab, we say thank you, Sabab, for the support. And then you're going to, as you acknowledge Sabab, you bow to Sabab and you become Sabab because you take on Sabab's energy. All right. And you feel supported through all your movements of life. That's what that breath is all about. All right. So you're going to start with your smile breath, the one that we did together, fully expanding, and you exhale on the bow. All right. You come back to center, fully expanding, exhale to the other direction, going backwards. Come back to center, inhale. You're right. You take a moment to pause while you're holding your breath, and then you exhale on the movements. So that's the theme. You're exhaling on the movements, inhaling at center. All right. And then you come back to center and do a cleansing breath. So let's do that exercise together. Exercise number 6. Always take a moment after the exercise to let the magic of the exercise work its magic. All right. That's in that moment of stillness afterwards. And have that conversation with yourself. What are you feeling? What I'm feeling myself automatically now feeling a lot more at peace. All right. I no longer feel the need to control everybody and everything. I more so want to control myself through the movements of space and time. All right. So now we're going to do the nerve revitalizing breath. So to do nerve revitalizing breath, you do that smile breath, that full inhale, out, down, out, and up. Everything is fully expanded. That's when your arms come in front of you with very little nerve force, and your arms come towards your chest because you're building up the tension like that. And then you have so much tension that your arms are shaking. And you're pushing against an imaginary force. And you do that 3 times, push against the imaginary force 3 times, and then you let the air out. So you're just doing the movements while you're holding your breath. Then you're going to follow with a cleansing breath. So what I feel today, with that exercise, I always feel something different. And what I'm feeling right now, notice what you're feeling. So I'm feeling actually my chest just open up and just relax. That's what I felt. All right, so now we're going to do our vocal breath. To do the vocal breath, you're going to do that same inhale very slowly till your lungs are fully expanded. You're going to hold the breath, and then you're going to open your mouth really wide. Ha! And you're going to let the air out in 1/4. Yeah. While that, Taza, doing the exercise with us, Taza, or Trees, I think that's how I say it. All right, so let's do it together. And then follow with a cleansing breath. And there's so many more exercises to do besides that one. But just those 3 exercises can make such a big difference just doing it every day, even once a day. That makes a big difference. So now let's acknowledge our master teacher, Baba Yanun. Okay. So let's acknowledge our master teacher, Baba Yanun. Baba Yanun, who sits at the center of this divine circle of healing, who brings us all together for the purpose of Ashuk, divine love. That's where the healing is. And we affirm that we are part of the all expanded. I am part of the all. I am in the divine love of the all expanding, and all divine love is in me. So when we affirm that about ourselves, that means automatically we're affirming that about each other. And we affirm our master teacher, whose purpose is wrapped up in our purpose as one collective body. Ashuk. Adoy cloud, tapalorat, wufa kor, bisa mus, pa paut, baror, nabab nadar mukdad, nahut mukdad badet patah, nahut muklas badet yanun, pa takud, anuki jawef pa ashuk em pa paut, Wu kalala shukawun jawef niya. Anuki kasamun em pa poets. Wu pa poets kawun kasamun em niya. Anuki wahu ame pa poets. Wu pa poets kawun wahu ame niya. Nakuk kado najah ame kasam em pa poets. Wu kabub ame muskas Nakuk kado kawan kala pafef nakuk ayor jawef pa poets. Ame wase ame ayani kawun lake bakor jawef pa poets. Anuki abed bi in a fashni. Papa kawun anuki Papa kado nakuk kado Papa amul nakuk amul Breathe in the support, wisdom, and guidance from the overseers, from Pa'ut, the all expanding Pa'ut, all. Breathe in that wisdom and healing, and breathe out that same divine love, healing, wisdom for your brothers and your sisters. That's the proper way to breathe. Want for each other the very things that you want for yourself. We affirm ourselves empowered. Why? Because they are me and I am them, our overseers. We are their children and we accept them as they accept us. And I shook for them from us. Lahehun manehnun antum ate karerhun antum ate karekum antum ate karenun antum ate jewefniya antum ate niyahu anukihun ya ye ashukreye ashmu jayehnu ya ye naktaru alfuknu nahun ater mukrarukum ya ye naktaru alfuknu alfuknun alfuknun ya ye naktarunu anu atu atu amu. We take time each day to take inventory of our own energy, our energetic body. We take responsibility for our energetic journey and how we affect each other. And we chant for our teacher's freedom, Baba Yanun, who's one and the same as us. Baba is us. So as we chant for Baba's freedom, we're really chanting for ourselves and each other. We're chanting for freedom from these mental prisons, these emotional prisons that we have confined ourselves in. Because why? Where the bodies go, where the mind goes, the body goes. So we chant for our freedom in our mind and emotions. And the personage of Baba Yanun, that's one and the same, because he represents us. And we take responsibility to represent him and each other in Ashuk. Tapor, tapalor, atu, kafush anhu. Yaye muktamu afuznun. Antkum mane yake ladura muslafunun. Womusarunun. Mane yake sawura paba'a. Mane yake kawuna kahu. Mane yake afer akak. Mane yake kawuna bashar wurama. Yaye na taru muktamunun. Afush muftanun. Anhu kawun munzal maneh panataru. Afush anhu. Anhu kawun bah yanun. Afush anhu. Anhu kawun atum reye. Afush anhu. Anhu kawun kafush. Oh, our ancestors, our good ancestors, our ancient ancestors. Guard us from the wicked ones. Guard us from our own ignorance. Guard us from becoming changed by these infiltrations of the souls, body, minds, hearts of the people. Guard us from our own ignorance. Yaye nataru musafunun, afuznun maneh pa mudradu, afuznun maneh kahalan. Yaye nataru afuznun, maneh sayor gayora, afuznun, afuznia, afuznun, afuznia. Yaye natarunun. And we pray for the protection of the cursed Dragonians who have infiltrated the hearts, minds, souls, and bodies of the people. Oh, overseers, remember us, protect us. I seek protection by way of natural nature. Tapalo Rabu, Pat Tap Moy, the protection. Nakuk taluk tap moy biye panataru. Maneh pala in lawitananu. Kalara namani ate lahe panataru. Mukalat sa palorani ate lahe kayariatung lahe panataru. Tawakum nataru. Muntaru, Babianu, for incarnating to bring us the truth and the way. Thank you for remembering us. We accept this guidance and we accept this healing. And we acknowledge that the scroll that we are reading today is the truth and the way. This is our scroll. This book is the truth and the way. Hasuabu Pataruk. Panen misfa kawun. Hasawabu Pataruk. Ze kawuna nazulala he amtkun. Mane masbatwu masa'a. Ama hadea mumudama'u. Mane musafukun. Munataru. Arjulaye nafashukun. Aufukshane kawunku. Pasawabu pataruk. Pahadeamu padamal. Nahun sawuanskun. Lahe panendamal wushafe. Nahun sawuanskun. Lahetem nasoinun. Nahun sawuanskun. Lahe ashkuma. Ans kuma ter muslafulu. Nahun ater mukrarukum. Nahun salub nasar kuma. Nahun salub nasar kuma. Ansanun kahena taru. Ansanun muslafulun. Nahun ater musfatu. Anun atun. Atun. Amu. Tawakum nataru. Umuntaru. Tawatak Baba Yanun. In the personage of His Excellency Dr. Malachi Kabina York Okran. And Tawakum to us Moisar Muslafu, as we do our very best to transform into the very, very best versions of ourselves in our one collective body. And this is our scroll for today. A little bit about the author. Ha Nabab Yanun, the master teacher Yanun, known to us as His Excellency Malachi Z. Kabina York Okran. Kabina means born on Tuesday. On June 26, 1945 AD in Ghana, Africa. Here's Baba's coordinates. Reaching our coordinates as Baba is all wrapped up in all of us. All right. So feel free to unmute. We're going to start our reading and feel free to participate. The Master's Secret. Taldad Shalal Taha. The birth. Ta Hasmuni. Taldad Shalal Taha. Birth of Earth. 1. Lekum I Marera Nuapu Kradu. For you all, my beloved Nuapian children. 2. The birth of this single Kawak planet was on this wise. 3. It was placed on the third sector. That is the third from the 9-ball or its sun. All right. So we're going to count 3 planets from the sun, which would be Mercury, Venus, and Earth. So Earth is sector 3. That means that Venus is sector 2, and Mercury will be sector 1. All right. So 1, 2, 3, the third rock from the sun. All right. So that's the Earth, sector 3. 4. It was placed as the 6th zone. That is 6 from the outer Kawak planets of this solar system in this order. So if we go from the outside, we're going to start on Neptune, Uranus, 3, Saturn, 4, Jupiter, Mars, 5, and Earth, zone 6. All right, so that's the 6th zone, sector 3. So we're getting the coordinates. All right. Pluto, which is not a planet, is on its own orbit, not really obeying the system. All right. So Pluto, for those of us who took Earth science, sometimes you saw Pluto is argued as a planet or it's not a planet, but Baba's saying it's not because it's not really obeying the same laws in that system. All right. 6. Each orb was made to grow or be grown at an exact point in time in space as a material. 7. This one we are now on, Taha, Earth, was given up to 24 points. So its circumference is 24,000 miles. All right. 24,000 miles from the equinox. 8. That's 1 mile of landmass for every year to date to its ages of cycle of 24,000 years called one equinox. All right. So we see 24 is a very, very important number for the coordinates of planet Earth. Because when we go around the, what is it called? The equator, and we take the measurements, it's roughly 24,000 miles. All right. And then we're talking about 1 mile of land for every year to date to its ages of cycles. That takes 24,000 year called one equinox. All right. So 24,000 years to make that cycle. All right. 9. Each day in shadow hours called night. The point in time, its time zone, when the sun crosses its belt or equator, making night and day of equal length in all sectors of it. 10. Setting its time from a moment or a measuring system of durations become 24 hours. All right, so roughly 24 hours it takes to make a day cycle. It takes us roughly 24 hours. All right, every planet is different. This is the coordinates of Earth. 11. It's all based on the rotation vortex of a tetrahedron at a three-sided Marat pyramid. 3 equal 8 as 3 times 8 equals 24. All right. So even that tetrahedron, that pyramid, because a tetrahedron has a triangle, and it's a triangle with 4 sides. All right. So that is in alignment with what's going on Earth. 3 times 4 is 24. All right. 12. So 8 oxygen was needed. Or O on the elemental chart is O8 because it's the 8th element. So the 8th element's oxygen was needed for this form of life, which was to be 6, or the 6th element carbon, base life form. All right, the base life form for this planet is carbon. 13. And needed 24 genomes or chromosomes to sustain its life form as chromium, which is the 24th element on the elemental chart. Chromium. 14. Chromium has the ability to resist corrosion, and the beings to be grown on this planet needed to be corrosion free. So they were given 6 carbon coloring. That is chromo or chroma, which is the Greek word for color, chroma. All right, so these are key elements because you'll see these elements again popping up in other scrolls. All right. 15. The Nagaru Negroids were the first Kawak Mashkasu planet people grown here on Sector 3, Zone 6, District 24. 16. We placed on their chromosomes of 24,000 one unique molecule now called Har Wahoo, a small particle of elements or compound that would exist free and retain Nadaru characteristics. All right, so Nadaru, you see the different ways it could appear. It's all the same thing. Nazdir, Nateru, all right, overseers, Nadaru. They're just different tones of the same word. 17. We did this 54,000 years ago when we gave them speech. 18. And assigned 24 beings of old, 24 elders as their Wahanu overseers. All right, the 24 elders as the overseers. 19. This Kawaktaha, planet Earth, was grown 90 million miles from its Reye sun and expands and contracts up to 93 million miles. All right. So the Earth, it goes back and forth because as it's spinning, sometimes we're closer to the sun, sometimes we're further from the sun. But we stay in the range from 90 million miles away from the sun to 93 million miles. Sometimes we're closer, sometimes we're further. But that's the natural, all right? Distance, that's our relationship. 20. And to its weight, 6 sextrillion tons. All right, that's how heavy the planet Earth is. 21. It is based on Ama'at, cycles of years of 4. All right. So there's cycles and it's divided into 4. 22. That is 4 equal time periods of 6,000 years each, which would be totaling 24,000 years. All right. For the whole equinox. And you have the equinox. All right. That's called 24,000 years of the equinox. And then you have cycles, 4 cycles. All right. 23. This is very important because this information is the base that's being explained here, and you'll see it in other scrolls and what's going on interplanetary. Like right now, we're coming at the end of a 6,000 year cycle, so we're finished that cycle, but we're also finishing the whole equinox, 24,000, and so many different things. There's many cycles right now that we're completing, all right, at one time. For this transition. That's why this is such a significant energetic transition for us beings here at this day and time. 23. The supreme mathematics or Mamtats matrix of this planet is 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, or 8 digits. That's 3 times 8 equaling 24. So we're counting by threes from 3 to 24. That'll equal 8 digits altogether. Those are very important increments. And that'll equal 3 times 8 again would be 24. 24. So the matrix of this planet relates to its genome. All right? Because we talked about the 24 genomes of the human body. All right? So the matrix of this planet relates to its genome. 25. Planet 24, or Taha, Earth, was a project of the Ka, spirit, and Ba, soul, Mukwanu, beings, sent here to Munzul, incarnate or grow into sun genes, and had an assignment if they were to return. All right. Stop anytime. 26. I want to repeat 25 again because I feel like that's a very key thing to keep in mind. Planet 24, or Taha, Earth, was a project of the Ka, spirit, and Ba, soul, Mukwanu, beings, sent here to Munzul, incarnate or grow into sun heat genes, and had an assignment if they were to return. All right, so we see that we have the soul and spirit, all right, incarnating to grow into the sun genes and complete whatever their purpose is, and if they are to return back to that state before the sun. 26. So you had Athunu Rabu, Kamamu. That's 24 elders, 12 males and 12 females. Mukhanu, overseers from Sahat, Orion, and Sabatat, Sirius. All right. So 12 represent Sirius, 12 represent Orion. Sabatat. Sabat is Sirius, and Sah is Orion. 27. You have 24,000 miles in circumference. All right, that's the equinox from the equinox part. 28. You have 24,000 years to an equinox. And 29, and you have in the root waste melanite Karadu children, the first word Salau race, and the Garu Negroes, 24,000 genomes. All right, that's why we take time to tune up. That's the power of our chants, because I could just hear the chants as I'm reading this. All right. So for example, the planet Earth is on F. It vibrates on F. The people, the bodies, if we're healthy, a lot of us don't vibrate right, but our natural vibrations will be A, as earthlings on Earth. All right, as humanoids. Like insects, they might vibrate different, but the human body is A. And then natural nature or the cosmos or the stars, our ancient ancestors, that's C. FAC. Earth, body, and cosmos. So when we're reaching out, when we're tapping in to when we're tapping in out here, that's we're tapping into the cosmos. That's on C. But the body has to be tuned up. So I'm just seeing that F, A, and C at the same time. We're sinking in. All right, and we're locking in. Activating the 24,000 the 24,000 root of the planet and the 24,000 genomes of the humans. All right. 30. So you have 24 hours of day and night. And then you have the element chromium, which is 24. All right. When I was learning about music, I'm not the most musical person, but I was learning about music so I could chant better, because Bible said that's our responsibility to learn music. All right. We should all be playing an instrument, actually, according to Bible. And they have something called a chromium, and it's also the musical wheel. They call that a chromium. And notice it's a circle. And then the chromatic. It's called the chromatic. And then you also have, so the sound wheel is called the chromatic wheel. And the color wheel is also called the chromatic wheel. So that's just something to put in your back pocket. So you have the element chromium, all right, which is the 24th element. And you have 24 colors of light. 33. You actually have 24 signs of the star map, the Dendera, or the zodiac. All right. And it reminds me, because remember how many elders we have? We have 24. All right. And how many are female and how many are male? 12 and 12. All right. So that's really 24 altogether, because there's a feminine aspect, there's a masculine aspect. That would be two different. All right. So that's 24 signs, really. So you actually have 24 signs of the star map, or the Dendera, or zodiac. 34. So Munbatu, golden children. All right. Nunbatu. So here the word Nabat. Nabat is the root word of Munbat. Because when you hear Mu, it's telling you it's a person. A person dealing with Nabat is gold. So Munbat, golden children, Melanites, were given 24 accomplishments to master within the 24,000 years to be welcomed home as part of the galactic system of the worlds from this one universe into the Kalal Mukwanat's omniverse. All right, so all those of us who feel we're golden children, you have to have those 24 accomplishments mastered before you can be welcomed home. All right, we're going to find out what those 24 accomplishments are. And you start with the one universe. You start with your one universe, go to that center, that journey in. Start with that one universe. Notice the doorway inward again. And it opens up all multiverse. All right, you have all in all. All right. So you always start with that one universe. So the Munbat, golden children, Melanites, were given 24 accomplishments to master within 24,000 years to be welcomed home as part of the galactic system of worlds from this one universe into the Kalai Makwanat's omniverse. 35. The Nagar Mukwanu, Negroid beings, were given 24,000 years to accomplish the 24 heights of perfection. All right. Because you're given 24,000 cycles to round yourself out. It's about rounding yourself out, taking a good person and just making them better. All right. That's yourself, rounding yourself out. So these are the 24 heights of perfection. One, what do we have to master? One, decipher the 24,000 genomes. All right. Two, some things we could check off, some things we may have to go back. All right. Two, graft and clone. Three, overcome killer viruses and diseases. That's what we're in a work process of now. And don't let anybody make you feel any type of shame of your journey of rounding yourself out. All right. So overcoming killer viruses and diseases. That's what we're doing. We're mastering. We're overcoming the mental and spiritual diseases that have been putting on our mind. All right. And also our physical bodies. All right. So four, mental or cordless communication of light, sound, and images. All right. So telepathy. All right. Cordless communication. Five, we had to master space travel. Six, transform Hg or 80, that's Mercury, the 80th element, back to gold. All right. Which is Au gold. Seven, we have to master split the atom. Split the atom. All right. We're going to metaphysics now. Eight, speak, read, write, and record time. Nine, organ transplants. 10, genetic manipulation. When I think of organ transplants, something as simple as Baba says some of us are waking up with our barotheric gland reinserted. All right. And different things happen to us. Baba said those organs had to be reestablished. All right. So when they start hacking us up, all right, organ, that's just what comes to mind. I'm sure there's much more to it than that. 10, genetic manipulation. Making decisions is a form of genetic manipulation. All right, because every decision that we're making is a genetic agreement, because you're sealing your fate. Whatever you're doing, all right, that's determining your outcome. So your daily habits is a form of genetic manipulation. But I'm sure there's more to it, right? But that's just one example of genetic manipulation. 11, flight. All right. Bible said learning to fly again. All right. That means if you're mastering flight, that means you're mastering your density levels. Because if you're too heavy, you're gonna be stuck. All right. So flight. 12, construction. All right, construction. What are we building? All right. I just think of the Masonics, and they're sitting down with their regalia and their important titles. But then I look around, I'm like, okay, so what do we have? What are we building? All right. So a Mason is a builder. All right. That's just what I'm thinking. But I'm sure, again, there's more to it. 13, time travel. Time travel. 14, discover the three sun solar system, Razak or Murzak. All right. So we have to go back to risk as one of our accomplishments. 15, masters music math in relation to light and sound. All right. That's why I started chanting. I started hearing certain things. Sometimes I can hear things and I can't really articulate it, but the music can articulate it in some shape, form, light. All right.
Rahubat, what scroll is this? I'm lost. I thought it was the Elder Scroll, the 24, but it's not.
Oh,
So what
no,
scroll is
no.
it?
It's the Birth of Earth, Series 1, Master Secret, Birth of Earth.
Is it in the chat, the book, the
I think
scroll?
so. I think somewhat, yeah, someone shared it. It just has a different cover. It has a rash tat and the bob tat on the cover with the two women facing each other, but that's the same scroll.
Well, wait, I'll find it.
And I shook some out tat. I'm happy to see you. All right. So now we want to discover that's number 14. I'm going over the accomplishments that we're responsible if we want to go back home, if we want to be welcomed back. 14, discover the three sun solar system, Razak, Mazak. 15, masters music, math in relation to light and sound. 16, agriculture. Agriculture. And automatically, if you're thinking about agriculture, then you automatically have to master the movements of the moon and the what do you call it? They call that astronomy. You have to study astronomy because if you notice that people who are in agriculture, they have to comprehend the cycles for their crops. All right. So agriculture is another one. 17, find the gateway or wormhole. 18, uncover the depths of the seas. They say that we know more about space than we know about our own oceans as far as modern scientists. All right. 19, uncover the inner Earth's realms. 20, know their being inside out, outside in. So master your own nature. All right. So you know about your inner nature and you know about your outer nature. All right. Your likes, your dislikes, what works for you, what doesn't work for you, your nature. And also that soul journey. So your physical nature and your spiritual nature and then that soul nature. All right. So knowing your being inside out, outside in. All right. Now nobody can use your nature against you because you've taken time to master your own nature. 21, speak in one tone. All right. Speak in one tone, the chance is helping tremendously. Because holding one tone, when I started learning to chant, let me see. I didn't like the way I was hearing people chant it. And uh by reading the breath book, there was a lot of clues because I learned to chant from the scrolls. I didn't like the way people was chanting. And then Baba had recently given an update saying that stop chanting together. Y'all need to chant by yourself. All right. Well, that's what was communicated to me. All right. So speaking on one tone, all right, agree with yourself and then learn to agree with each other. All right. So that's mastering unity. Unity. Because there's no harmony without unity first. Unity comes before harmony. So speak in one tone. 22, teleportation. 23, uncover the 120th element. 120th element. All right. And 24, communicate with the spirit world, both dead and extraterrestrial. All right. So 21, I hear A, tone A, speaking on one tone. And 24, and I'm not saying it's limited to that, it's just what I hear. And 24, communicate with the spirit world, both dead and extraterrestrial. I'm hearing tone C. I'm hearing tone C. But you can't skip over A before getting to C. All right. So 36. These are the accomplishments before the hourglass of 24,000 years ran out. All right. So this is what we had to master if we want to get back home. We want to be welcome back before our time runs out. All right. 37. This has to be done on this orb. All right. On this orb. Orb is this is an orb, a circle, a sphere, orbs. So this has to be done right here on this earth. So this has to be done on this orb because of hybrids or man's kind, who by their tabah nature was made to be a distraction and have for the past 6,000 years done just that. Distracted the Nagaru with the Raye spell of mental sleep. So now you know that's a distraction. All right, you busy fighting the devil and you missing all your accomplishments. Stop with the fighting. Step away, leave them alone, and focus on what you gotta do. All right. If somebody decide they're not gonna make it, don't let them stop you from making it. All right. You gotta stay focused. So you have
So
to.
you
We
have
have to. Yes,
yeah.
Zamal.
I have a question.
I'm sorry,
I'm sorry.
I realize it's Zamal Hasmoudi.
Like
Yes.
you, um, whenever he was speaking on the 24 accomplishments, well, I got two
Hmm.
questions.
Yeah.
So, you know how they say Mason means traveler, right?
Okay.
Okay, so when it was talking about earlier in the scroll, how whenever the earth was created, each mile equated to 1 year. That's how we got 24,000 years.
Hmm.
Okay, and then he gave us 24 accomplishments to make it back home, right? So what I'm getting at is I'm looking at the 24 accomplishments like they're like a mile to cover the whole circumference of the earth. Like each accomplishment is a mile or like a step up. So would we be masons or travelers like innately? Like it's in us to just be a traveler.
Tawua, if we're living that, because a lot of times that's the journey. So it's like you judge somebody by the journey, and or their actions. I remember Baba saying, "Love is actions. It's not really what you say; it's what you're doing." And um, and it's like if you have a goal, you're accomplishing something. You're traveling. You're a traveler, and that's our goal. So, and that's where they got that from us. Really, they got that from us.
And I got another question.
Yeah.
Whenever he mentioned to find the gateway or the wormhole, is there only one gateway? Because he didn't say gateways or wormholes, just like in the next accomplishment, he said uncover the depths of the seas, which is
Hmm.
plural. So is there only one gateway?
Um, that is something. I feel like that question is like you can unpack it in so many ways because I'm already thinking of our past key seals as a mal tattoo. I'm thinking about women's past key seals because Bobby says only women have them. And when you have pass key, it's given a key somewhere. So this is also part of our travel. And also the maf kuzet is very, very needed. It's important. And we get our maf kuzet from our mothers because it's by way the mitochondrial DNA that has to be reactivated. However, it's not a woman. It becomes the woman or the women becoming one body because our power is really our unity. Because when we start to really in sync emotionally, we become one voice, and like even our cycles will start to sync. So I'm just hearing the unity about that's what I'm
That's
hearing,
what
and
I'm
that's what I'm saying.
hearing
The unity with the
with
women.
the women.
Got you. Okay, when
Yeah.
when you say pass key, is that like a play on words like pass key, like earth?
I
I
guess it could be. I never thought of that, but perhaps because Baba does have multi dimensions, and I was getting my pass key. So yeah, Baba had given them out, and he said only women have them.
Yeah, that sounds like
Um,
passport, except it's pass key.
yeah, yeah, and then remember the other scroll was talking about the abuse of the women. If men think that they're getting out of here without abuse, they're going to be sadly mistaken. Um, and we can get by way of our uh how is it? We don't like a man. He doesn't have a pass key, but he could use a pass key too. He could
Mm,
like she could extend her pass key to him.
okay. So
And
just
I know
like
that.
just how
Mhm.
how we got here, we have to go through the garden or the woman.
Yes,
Got you.
like she's the gate. She's in a way a gatekeeper. So that's just what I'm hearing. It's not written in this scroll, but it's me putting the pieces together. Like pass keys that women only have them. Women set the tone. Baba has said that women set the tone for the whole tribe. We have to act as one on one accord, right? One accord. Um, and our power is really in our unity, and so speaking in one tone. All right.
Tawad.
So yeah, 36. So these were the accomplishments These were to be accomplished before the hourglass of 24,000 years ran out. And also, like I just heard in my head, because like sometimes, honestly, there's stupid, petty little things that go on, in our tribe because of the three types of love. You have marar, which is the darling love, and I think that's really what's been a hindrance, because that could be, and it can make people feel entitled or possessive or ownership. Then you have ashuk, that's divine love, and you need the ashuk to get out of here, not the marar. Now you could have marar and you can have ashuk. You can have habub, what you like. All right. Sometimes I dislike, like I don't like that brother, so yeah, I'm not going to cooperate with him. I don't like that sister, so I'm not going to cooperate with him. So again, that's the habub. It's not about the habub. It's not about the maror. This is my darling. It's not about that. It's about ashuk. Um, yeah, that's just what I heard. All right. So 36. These were to be accomplished before the hourglass of 24,000 years ran out. 37. This has been done on this orb because of hybrids. Hasmuni, I'm sorry for keep reading the same. I just realized I read that like 5 times. This has been done on this orb because of hybrids or mankind's who by their tabah nature were made to be a distraction, to have for the past 6,000 years done just that, distracted the Nagaru Negroids with a raye, spell of mental sleep. 38. The Ayantui eyes of those who created watched, and from time to time sent Mufhasu investigators to report back to Munzaror. Munzaror. That's warners, to warn. All right. So from time to time, there have been people who have incarnated, all right, to watch and report back to the warners, all right, to warn. 39. To examine all mortals of each Salau race and subrace to see if Nagaru Negroids have accomplished their 24 responsibilities. All right. This site 24 called Kawak Taha, planet Earth, the blue planet Arak, is protected by the element chromium, which we already determined is a 24th element on the periodic table. And as chromium, as our first world people, the Melanite children of Nagaru Negroids called Afafrehi Kaahu. All right. So it's been a while since I read this and something just clicked for me. So Baba's saying that chromium protects this planet. It's an element that protects planet Earth, but also it's encoded in the Nagaru Negroids to have chromium. Remember what chromium does? Chromium keeps the planet from corrosion. So if the Afafre Ka'u, the Africans have that chromium, all right, that's why they don't corrode and others fade and we're still here. All right. We were here before. We went through many cycles. All right. We went through many 24,000 years. That's equinox. We went through many equinoxes. That's because of that chromium. All right. 41. Their color or chroma is the key to not corroding their sunlit genes of their chromosomes, just as gold 79 does not corrode, which is at the base of their world. The base of their world. All right. Chromium, and then another secret is gold. The liquid gold or mercury found in other elements as gold in its pure state as 24 carats. All right. So when people are saying, Baba, people don't know what's liquid gold, Baba's explaining liquid gold in many different scrolls. So mercury is talking about a form of liquid gold, but remember that's one of our 24 accomplishments to learn to turn mercury back into gold. So to drop down one element. All right. And it's found in other elements as gold in pure state as 24 carats. All right. Again, that 24 carats is not by mistake. Baba highlighted that 24 carats. That's pure gold. 43. It all relates to chromium, the 24th element, which prevents corrosion, unlike the weaker race of serotonin children or hybrids, who start to rot and corrode at birth, the carcass or the caucasoid or the carcass of the Asian, Caucasian. All right. 44. Existing. So as they're born, they're already rotting from the womb. All right. There's no protections in those genes. 44. Existing in the Nagaru, Negroid gene from chromium to zinc, which is the 30th element, to magnesium, that's the 25th element, to cobalt, that's the 27th element. All right. I know cobalt they use in electronics too, but it's also in our bodies. So that tells you a little bit something. Then you have nickel, which is the 28th element, and then you have copper, which is the 29th element. All right. So this is all part of our genome. All right. And there's more. These are what do you call those? I forgot the name of it. Transitional metals. These are transitional metals. You find them in different forms. It's all in our blood. All right. 45. You were born not to rot and die. That's how we were born, not to rot or to die. Yet, you intermixed your divine DNA with those who were given only 6,000 years. 46. Then they would, as the sun rays touched them at the dawn of the new day, rot, corrode, and deteriorate like Dracula, little by little, after their 6,000 years from the year 4000 BC. All right. So 6,000 years after the year 4000 BC, that's the year 2000. So as of 2000, they're in their death cycle now. They're dying off. All right. And then also they're finding that our sun rays is giving off higher energies than it has been. All right. So they were programmed to die, and we have mixed our DNA with them. 47. The Caucasoid race and their helpers of sub-races grafted tabal, natural food, into mankind's synthetic barahat, foods, and sharabat, drinks, smokes, and jasad, flesh. And they have many Nagaru Negroids eating, drinking, smoking, and chaye, breathing their fake tabal, unnatural chemicals. All right, more distractions for the genetics. All right, so I'm just using my common sense. Their genetics were programmed to start deteriorating by activation of certain things that their time period is off. That means that our genetics were also programmed to do certain things with the change, because there's going to be a reaction. How it reacts, it depends on, all right, the being. But now there's so many distractions from our food, our drinks, what we're intaking. That's all I'm seeing is a bunch of distractions so that the genetics don't do what it's programmed to have done at the end of that 6,000 years. All right. 48. Zayef fake edible foods targeted for you to eat. 49. Some call it fast food or processed food or genetically modified organisms. That's called GMO, but are designed to remove the natural substances creating in each of you to protect your immune system. So Baba's letting you know why they're feeding it to you. All right. Because you have natural protections in your genetics. You can eat, you're supposed to be able to eat and drink and interact with certain things that won't harm you. All right. I'm talking about in nature. But nature itself is killing us off. All right. Why? Because of the GMOs, genetically modified. That's one of our chants. That's why that chant That's why I chanted before reading this scroll. How does that relate to this chant? And it's saying, Topalor Talu. O overseers, our ancestors, guard us from the wicked ones, guard us from ignorance, guard us. O overseers, guard us from becoming changed. Guard us, guard me, guard us, guard me. O overseer, guard us from becoming changed. GMO, genetically modified organism. All right. So when you get fed that genetically modified organism, you become a genetically modified organism and you become mutated. All right. And so we chant, all right, for us to prevent that change so that our genetics can be there to receive. It's ready. All right. 50. Most fast food restaurants are established by Kakasu, Caucasoids. 51. You need to get approved by them to open it. 54. They check out your output to make sure it is not healthy and immune degrading. All right. So even if it's not run by Caucasoids, Baba's saying that you still they have put it so that you still have to go through them. So it's still their stuff. All right. And they check your output and make sure it's not healthy and it's immune degrading. Junk to downgrade your DNA to junk. 54. So the phrase eat to live is not about how much or how often one eats. It's about natural intake. All right. So eat to live, because that was a big thing back in the 90s, 80s, 90s, I think. And they always pushed eat to live, and they made all this processed food and count your calories and all that other stuff. And Baba said that's not what it's about. It's not about how much you eat or how often you eat. It's about how natural you eat. All right. It's about natural intakes. 56. They seek to reduce your immunity and slowly kill you, as they know they are mawuts dying. You know, some people, they're like, if I can't have it, nobody can. If I'm going to go, I'm taking everybody out with me. If I can't go to the stars, neither can you. All right. So that's all the mentality Baba had gave an update years ago, that they were dangerous to get away from them because they were in self-destruct and they were going to destroy as many of us as we would allow. So they seek to reduce your immunity and slowly kill you, as they know that they are ma'ut, dying. 57. But Mother Nature also has in her more substances for the Hawe Yal. That's original Hawe Yal. Hawe Yal. Original black people. 58. Substances found in what is naturally grown on the planet. 59. Substances for your immune system. All right. So these are natural beings, have their plan. Nature has its own plan. 60. Just as a newborn Mawas baby turned to its mother's breast, for nature has created in the mother a substance called colostrum in her milk that contains immunities. 61. And know this also, Nuapu Nuapians, an accepted partner can bring to your strong immune system their weaknesses to weaken or even break down your immune system. 62. Africans have the strongest immune system on this planet. 63. Africans can travel to any part of the world, drink any water, and not fear sickness or mawati death. 64. We survive many diseases that killed other races. All right. That's just something to think about. There's a lot of, think about all the ways that they're trying to kill us. Think about even slavery. All right. And our genetics was able to, the fact that we're still here, that's a miracle. Where other whole populations have been wiped out, we're still here because of our immune system. Now, is it weakened after everything we've been through? Yes. But it's a testimony of our resilience. All right. So we survive many diseases that kill other races. 65. Yet now the Nagaru, Negroids who have lived outside of Africa with other Salalu races will become sick and die if they drink Maya water in Africa. Why? All right. So those of us who have been out of Africa and intermingling with others, when we go back to Africa, we get sick when we drink the water. Why? Bob's going to tell us. 66, because the Caucasoids have you living in their own image, eating what they eat, drinking what they drink, and now your immune system have been compromised to a weaker state, and it must be renewed with the proper elements and substances you were gifted with at your creation. All right. So Baba just said that they're poisoning you, but then Baba said Mother Earth has also substances found in nature for the children of nature. All right. So it's telling Baba's letting us know that we can repair what has been done to us. 67. You started with pre-matter, antimatter, before the first atom or atomic number, hydrogen. All right. Pre-matter and antimatter. So we're going into the realm of noon, or the realm of triple darkness. All right. Before things manifest as matter or physical things. All right. It's matter in a pre-existence state before you start putting it together and solidifying. That's before the hydrogen molecule. 68. A hydrogen atom looks like a circle with two small circles, including one electron and one proton. So it would be a center with energies around it. All right. So there's a center that's magnetizing energies to spin around it. All right. Because nothing in existence is in a resting state. Everything is in some type of movement or vibration. Even the hydrogen molecule is so. 70, meaning an elementary particle in the nucleus of the atom carrying a unit of positive charge of electricity and a unit of negatively charged electrons. 71. An atom consisting of electrons, protons, neutrons, positrons, neutrinos, quarks, antiquarks, mesons, muons, photons, leptons, hadrons, and hyperons are just one element's part. All right, so you have parts of parts. And it makes me think about Chan again. Because even when you talk about a whole, you're still talking about parts, because you could break down a whole like this. All right. And we read together in this group, but we could always read again. M of the circle of existence. You see, you're going back to there. And it makes me think of a chant. Anuki Kasam M Papout. I am part of the all expanding. And the all expanding is part of me. All right. Because we're talking about the different states, how it condenses and then expands outwards. So it condenses, all right, from parts. All right. Because even if you look at any given person, you can't find out one who's composed of just one. I'm composed of many, because there's many cells. You can scratch off cells off my skin. You can take samples of my DNA. I'm made up of many things. So Baba is letting you know how matter is made of many things. 72. So by the time you reach the center with 24, such as the amount of protons and electrons as chromium has, you have completed an orb or a karat, a ball. All right. So you go from one to many. All right. Because hydrogen, you'll see, keeps building on itself. All right. So I think about just what's coming to mind, our accomplishments or our actions. All right. and how life itself grows and expands, because like when you're putting hydrogen together, you put two hydrogen molecules, it starts to create friction, all right, and it starts to merge into one, becoming helium. But when it merges, it creates heat, and that's why the sun is made up of helium mostly, and hydrogen. But it keeps building. Different elements are growing out of the sun. So we start a hydrogen, helium, that's the sun. You keep building up, and you start making more complex things out of that. And you expand outward. You start making planets. You start making people, all right? You start making different organisms. And you're building up with the elements, and you're creating more complex. But it goes back to simple forms. So by the time you reach the center with 24, such as the amount of protons and electrons, chromium has 24. You have completed an orb or a karat, a ball. All right. Go back to the 24 karat gold. All right. That's the golden children who have rounded themselves out, who can go back home. That's what I'm hearing. All right. 73. So as they move in a circular motion of energy, you see the perfect orb or globe as chromium, which is the 24th element. 74. Every point of the orb in a form of perfect Shannon circle, starting with the symbol Reye, the sun, which started with hydrogen onto helium, onto 999. All right, 999. And it goes back to the different stages of darkness. 999. And then you see the different formats. So let me draw it out. All right. It would be something like this. All right. That's spinning. 999. And just like babies, they start upright, and they have to, before they come through the canal, right? They grow this way, and then they flip upside down in the canal. That's that spinning, but that's just like anything that's in the formation. It goes back to 999. Right? So from the smallest particle to the first element on into the sun, and now we're seeing things grow out from the sun. All right, and all of it is about rounding to become that perfect circle. So 75. This is the orb of all that is placed in place for that very reason. 76. You ask, why were you Ladid born? Why were you born? This is why. 77. The orbs are the jasad, roots of Taba, natural nature. All right. It's been updated. You can see Fatal. That's still natural nature. Taba, natural nature. And birth and grow and Tawah, creation. So the roots are the roots of natural nature and birth, growth, and creation. All right. So orbs or circles, that's the roots. So all growth, creation, birth. All right. 78. The perfect number of the source of all is 999 plus 1 or 1000. 999 plus 1 or 1000. All right. So you get back to even the ones and zeros, because 9 is interchangeable. You see, 9 is interchangeable with the circle. All right. And then rays come out of the circle. You start a timeline. So now you go through the ones and zeros. All right. That's part of finding the wormhole, because you have to go back to recycle, because everything that's born, timelines are born. So if things are birthed, that means that they die. but they recycle when they find that wormhole. See? So you're just changing energy forms, or not energy forms. Yeah, forms of energy. It's just energy taking different forms. All right. So the perfect number of the source of all existence is 999 plus 1. All right. Baba explained that that is also M, other. That's mother. Baba explained that in another scroll. I'm not just. So 1000 in Roman numerals goes back to M. Because when you see M, that means 1,000. So that goes to M. That's the 1 plus the 999. All right. So that's telling you that's the realm of manifestation and demanifestation and manifestation and demanifestation. It's life put into motion. So 79, 1000, that's perfect unity. That is 9 to the ninth power of 9, which is 1000 for nature. All right. That's why they say nature is feminine. All right. Mother Nature. All right. Now we see why. 80 plus the 000 or hydrogen. That's the one element. And oxygen, water. All right. So H2O. All right. So oxygen and water of life. And Sarak Hamam, ancient Egypt, was a symbol of 1,000. All right. So hydrogen. I saw. It's just coming to mind. Hydrogen. Hydrogen. Real interchangeable. Put that for the birth of sons, because 2 hydrogens equals a helium. So that's yellow. All right. And then you have water. You have water, which is blue. And then when you put water and sun together, you get green. So we're talking about green life, or the green one. All right. Which is a composite of yellow and blue. And now we see why. All right. So when Bob was talking about the green one, you could break down, well, what's the energy behind green one? We're going back to the mother, or 1000 of nature. That's hydrogen plus water, which equals life. And ancient Egypt did. So green is life. All right. That's the combination of water and hydrogen. So the raison stock of leaf and a lotus out of the bread loaf. All right. The bread loaf. That's our tet symbol. All right. The loaf. That's manifestation and things growing out of nothingness. So things are solidifying. And then on the opposite spectrum, this is the wormhole when you put them together. This is called the basket. All right. So in the center of matter, it looks like this. You have the basket and you have the belly. And you say the bread is in the oven, that means that it's pregnant. All right. And life is growing outside of it. All right. Pushing life out. All right. And sucking life in. Because that's what the basket does. Energy goes back to that dark source to reanimate again and again. All right. So the cycle looks like this. That's our cycle. So if you say mother, or you say 1 plus 999, that's what we're talking about. Or we could also say the green one. All right. Oh, Kadir. So 81, because the water lily closes at night and sinks underwater to rise and open again at dawn. So even the lily itself represents the cycles of life and death, because she sinks beneath the water at she goes through the sun is activating her. So the lily is going under the water and closing up, and then the sun makes it go back up and open up. So it's like a rebirth every day. So because the water lily closes, and for us, the lily, also known as, what else is another word for the lily? It's called I forgot what it's called. A lily. What's another name for a lily?
I was gonna ask, is it
It's also called.
a lotus?
Lotus. That's the word. Yes. So that's why the lotus is representative of the women, and that's also the story. This is the exact same story of Haru, Arashtat, Aset, Ashastet, all those tones, or Asar, Usar, however these different tones, right? That's the same story, because who brought Asar back to life energetically? That would have been Arashtat. All right. So it also represents the pregnant belly, all right, or the womb. So because the water lily closes at night and sinks underwater and rises and open again at dawn, 82, the natural symbol of Reye, the sun of creation. The sun and of creation, Hasmoni, the sun and of creation. But I always heard like raise your son with their arms in the air. It's a woman, right? And she's standing like that. It was in our Ashatat scroll. And even that, like how close Ashatat and also Arashtat, you hear the similarities, and it's a prayer, our prayer scroll. And then you had the woman, she's standing like this, and then you see a sun. You can't see my arms, but you see the woman, she's like this. And then there's a sun. And it's like, raise your son, raise, as in raise, to grow, let's raise our sons. And also, Ray is your son. Ray, that's your son. That's the mother of the son. So, and that's the same symbol you could see here. Raise your son. And then you see Har as well, sitting on the lotus. That's another symbol. It's all the same symbol, or the same implication. So natural nature, symbol of Reye, the sun, and of creation. 83, a giant lotus was what first rose from the primeval water of noon. All right. So female before male. All right. So the giant lotus was what first rose from the primordial waters of noon, and from which the sun itself, Atum, rose. So we're talking about the growth of life. All right, Atum. So the atom, Atum. Atum, out of female. So in fact, the symbol of the 3 flags for Panadaru overseers, Nadaru overseers, is actually 999. So you can look in ancient hieroglyph, Madaneta, you'll see the 3 flags. But Bible says the 3 flags is really the 3 nines too. It's interchangeable. So yes.
Zamotat, have you seen the Hebrew symbol for 6?
No.
It's shaped just like that. So a lot of people that are big on the conspiracies were talking about the monster symbol on the carbonated drink, that energy drink, and it had those 3 looking kind of hockey puck symbols. But in Hebrew, no, it's just a little bit shorter at the top. So if you look up like the Hebrew symbol, it has that same shape. I just thought that is really interesting in how they always take from our ancestors and perverse it somehow into something negative. How they then, knowing that similar symbol is representative of the Natharu, turned into it a 666 symbol for
for their
Unnatural. Tua.
Tower hat. But even in our cycles, though, when we're spinning, the 999 already acknowledges the 6 because that's how it would appear in nature. This is how the 999 would appear in nature. But for some of us, we're just born to die. Some of us, that's all we are. So we're just the 6. And we don't have this anymore, that 9. So it just kind of reminds me of when you, and look at the attack on women. So let's just say 9, because we talk about feminine. That's, when you look at 9, you still see it's a 1 and a 0. And you could chop the female off, right? Chop the female off. So it's just God creating a man, a male God creating a male being. He's just creating a timeline. There's no wormhole. There's no reversing. There's none of this. There's no basket. There's no growth cycle. So in a reality, that is that's as far as they go. But even in their stories, because remember, like the first writer of the Bible is supposedly supposed to be Moses. And Moses, he was educated and grew up with the Egyptians. So even they acknowledge that they get their schooling and their roots from Egyptian roots. All right. And they just went off and did their own thing with the culture. And it just reminds me of our breath book, how Bible says that what's being shared is just crumbs that fell from our ancestors' tables. And from those little crumbs, they were able to build their societies on. So imagine how much more potential that we have. So yeah. So in fact, I'm gonna check that out. Actually, Zamanta, if you could share that into the chat, that'd be great. The monsters.
Well,
Yeah, I appreciate that. 85. So in fact, the symbol of the 3 flags for Panataru, Nataru, or Natar overseers is actually those 3 pucks or those flags, which is really 999. All right. Or the 3Z000. All right. Because remember, 9 and 0 is interchangeable. All right. And even like I play a little bit of math games, and 9 and 0 can be interchangeable. Because like when you factor in 9, for example, when you factor in 9 into like certain things, it breaks down. If you go back to the root, it doesn't affect that other number. Like for example, let me see. I'm trying to remember. If I remember, hold on. So 2. Okay. Yes. So for example, okay. So let's say you have the number 2. All right. And then you add 9 to it. 9 plus 2 equals 11. And what's 1 plus 1? 1 plus 1 equals 2. So 9, when you go back to the, like for example, 11 is considered a composite number because you could break it down further. So when you go back to base numbers, 9 is the highest as it can go. So if you're going to factor in 9 into equation and you're going to break it back down to its base, it's always going to go back as if 9 wasn't even factored in. So 9 and 0 is interchangeable. So if you put 2 plus 0, it equals 2. 2 plus 9 equals 2 again, because 2 plus 9 equals 11, and 1 plus 1 equals 2. So 2 plus 9 equals really 2 when you go back to the base numbers. So that's just an example of the interchangeableness of 0 and 9. So the 3-9, or the 3 sons for Marzak, risk, all right? Bible says risk is interchangeable. Well, it relates to those to provide. That's what risk means. Razak, provider. So if you become a muzak, you become one who provides. All right. That'll be your nature if you're a murzak, a provider. So you have zero, the first dot, that's the time face of the clock. And then you have the second dot, that's the time, space, absent form, and space. And then you have the third dot, that's the material. So time, space, and matter. Time, just gonna take all the extra words out. Time, space, and matter. Because the moment that you have matter and you have the moment you give birth to matter, you're giving birth to relationships. Because, for example, we tell time based on our relationship to the sun. So matter to matter, all right. This is the shape, size, and how it relates to that shape and size. Let's just say our sun and how it moves around. That's how we depict. That's how we depict time. All right. So matter, time, and space. So you can't really have one without the other three. You can't have one. It's a 3-in-1 reality, because once you start talking about matter, you're already starting to talk about time. And if you're talking about time, you're talking about the relationship. That's space. All right. So the 3 sons of Mazak. 87. The 3-in-1 and inseparable, which is again 1,000. 3-in-1. 88. The orb or ball is the perfect and favorite form of Nawab. Naweb. All right. So I said Nawab by accident. Nawab. So now we see Nawab, because Bob said Nawab, the Nawapu is really protected. He never really told the true meaning, but we do see it's multi-dimensions. So Nawab means supreme. And you could always interchange vowels in our language. So Nawab, supreme. Nawapu, the supreme. Munwapu, the supreme ones. All right. So the orbital ball is the perfect or favorite form of the Nawab, supreme. Source, or Kale Makwanu, omniverse, powers all expanding. And the ball's outline, profile, or silhouette is a perfect shanan, circle. If the form of Pa Karats, the ball is perfect. All right, shanan, circle, perfect ball. All right. That's our journey, round ourselves out. We'll incarnate as many times as it takes to round ourselves out. Bible says you get 24 to 24,000 cycles, and always treat it as if it's your last, because you don't know if it could be your last. All right. 90. So as you gaze up, you see Pareye, the sun, Pa'aha, the moon, and the motion of this solar system. Universe, all circular motion, mobility of roundness, as the Qara child in the Raham womb. All right, it's about that circular motion. That's how we're telling time, and we're telling time based on circles. Look at the space, look at the relationships. So you're looking at matter, you're looking at space, and you're looking at movement. All right. And that's the same thing that's happening inside the woman's womb, right? The 91, the round or circular motion, Gayorat, transforms the cube also into an orb. All right. So if you keep going around in circles, it starts to round out. All right, into a circle. It rounds it out into a circle, because that's what will happen. Like rocks, in time, they'll become smooth. All right. I remember Bob saying you have to take yourself a raw, I forgot how he said it. It's in one of the meditations. Take yourself
a raw, rough, uncut stone.
Yes. And turn yourself into a smooth. Can you finish the quote? Somebody say it.
I think it was turning yourself into a smooth stone.
Yes, okay.
He was speaking about, I think he was referring to like the ashlas in the Masonic order, where he was teaching the science to everybody else who was like what they call the eavesdroppers, everybody else in the public. But yeah, I remember that. Take yourself a raw, rough, uncut stone and like smooth yourself out. He was like taking yourself, like, and simply just making yourself better. I know what you're talking about. I think that's Isn't that ancient Egyptian comedic visualization?
Yes,
Or
that's
ancient, yeah, comedic
Egyptian
visualization
visualization tones.
tool.
yes. So that's our goal, to round ourselves out to become the perfect circle. And then you start to think, even breathing. That's why I always say, think of your breath as the oil expanding. Because the moment that you start to create, the moment you start to impede on your breath, you start to create angles. And when you start to create angles, you start naturally to create division. And that's why Bible says angle and angel, that's interchangeable. Angel and angle. Because each angle has its own message, its own degree, right? So you have different degrees, and you realize as you're going up the degrees. That's why, and I'm thinking masonry, right? So as you're going up the degrees, you realize that you really just went in a circle, and that's what the whole thing of a well-traveled man is, one who has round himself out just by, you look up at the movement, and you realize that's why the orb is um the preferred shape. All right, that's the supreme shape. So the round or circular motion, Gayurat, transforms the cube also into an orb. 92. You had and you have one, time. That's the dark hold. Then you have space. You have dark matter, and then you have material. That's dark energy. 1, 2, 3. Dark hold, dark matter, dark energy, time, space, material. And then you have the Egyptian equivalent. Ha, wait, what was it? Hika, hold on. Let me look at the chat. I'm getting excited, and sometimes words move, get released out my mind. 1 second. Noon. Okay, so you have noon, or the triple darkness. Noon, and then you have ha and ka. All right, and then you could just hear it. And I remember, like I was telling Baba, 'cause I was so excited about my name. I like the name Noon. I was telling Baba, I said, I am triple darkness. And Baba laughed and he said, you're saying that you're pregnant. And I don't think that's what you mean. But now you see, we have the natural growth cycles. So we're going through the dark hold, we go into dark matter, and then dark energy. And you're in that realm of that whole recycling, that whole breath of life. This is where things are starting to manifest. So if you say you're triple darkness, you're saying you're manifesting. All right. But we all do come through that triple darkness. All right. So 93. The birth is one universe and its elements all controlled by nature. Number 1 or 01, all right, or 9 to 01 or 01. Or the 9 ether symbol, a spiral or circle. So our 9 ether symbol, in another scroll he explained it, but I can't remember the direction, but I'm just going to draw it. And then we'll finally catch up. So notice you have the spiral, and they can go in either direction. One direction represents materializing something, and the other one represents dematerializing. So getting drawn into, because you know that, for example, particles, if it gets too close to a black hole, it can dematerialize. And then also, like when you find in a wormhole, things are also materializing from dark holes as well. So it depends on, are you materializing or dematerializing? All right. So the birth, that is one universe and its elements all controlled by nature. Number 1 or 9 to 01 or 01. I'm thinking there's typos here. So 01 or 0 or the 9 ether symbol. So I'm seeing that it should say from the number 1, from the number 09, Because you see how you can have 0 and 1 is 9. 0, 1, and 9. You just put them together. But when you say 9, then you're saying you're materializing something from nothing, and nothing back to something to nothing, nothing to something. All right. How does that happen? 1, 2, 0, 1, or 0, 1. All right. I'm not going to correct it, but I think there's something needs to be corrected, but I don't know how yet. So maybe we'll read it and see. So the birth, this one universe and the elements all controlled by nature, numbers 0, 1, or 9. Or the 9 ether symbol, a spiral or circle. So I'm thinking that should be a 0 because it's like 4 different options. And a spiral circle. 94. So 9 is the circle, the perfect form for ontologists of Wu-Nuwap versus, all right, so we're going to see 2 natures.
Yeah,
You have this. Rahul Basamalta, I see you unmuted. Kaya.
I didn't mean to do that.
All right. All right. So anybody's welcome to unmute because this is a lot to take. And it's so simple, but so complex, right? So you have the square and the circle. Those of the square, that's considered the good force, that's 9 ether, or the green light, right? Then you have those of the square, that's Zupu or Zunu, all right? That's the 6 ether, negative, and it's talk about being trapped. Because again, remember when you start having angles, all right, you start to deal with perspective. You don't want to be stuck in perspective. You want to acknowledge perspective without being stuck in it. For example, my name is Noon. Nice to meet you. This is the stuff I like. This is the stuff I don't like. This is my personality. This is this. This is what I'm attracted to. It's what I'm not attracted to. This is my nature. This is my brother over there. He has his own perspective. We both experienced something from the angle that he was standing. That's what he saw. From the angle where I was standing, this is what I saw. He said that there was 3 people. I'm telling him that there was 4. But the reality is that when you stand in a circle, in a square, that's what it does. Because this part of the square can be painted red, that can be painted another color, that can be painted. And the person who's standing here, they can be arguing with the person standing here. Those of us, all right, so we acknowledge that because we acknowledge our ancestors, we acknowledge our nature, but we don't want to be trapped there. And when you go to the circle, there's no perspective you standing over. That's the difference between understanding and overstanding. All right. And remember in our other scroll, we go through sound, right, reason, right, right,
Something like
understanding.
that.
Yes.
Could you go over what you said about the difference between understanding and overstanding? Could you just go through that one more time, please?
Yeah. Yes. So we're talking about perspective. So when you have an understanding, first off, we're very respectful of each other. Because, for example, my experience is different than your experience. My nature is different than your nature. And sometimes it's like we have different perspectives. So this is my understanding. And I remember Baba also explained that everybody wants to be understood. It's not about, oftentimes you won't really be understood because no one could really exist in your skin like you. All right. They could just look on, have empathy, but really overstanding, it doesn't deal with the perspective. It's not limited to the perspective. All right. So you don't want to be trapped in just your experience because this is like our solid bodies, or being a man, being a woman, being left, being right, being up, being down. Over here, you can't find the up or down, left, right. This is where you find up, down. This is where you find the division, the angles. That's where the angels come in. All right. There's good angels. There's bad angels. You have the seraphim, the cherubim. That's all this wrong. All right. And then over here, you just have the overstanding. All right. It has all the degrees already in it. All right. But it's not stuck with a perspective. All right. And that's why we start rounding ourselves out. And Bobby even talked about life and death cycles, how sometimes you go through one experience and then you'll come back, you'll reincarnate to experience the other side of that experience. So let's just say Bobby used suicide as an example. People who like commit suicide, Bobby explained another scroll, that oftentimes they'll reincarnate to experience someone close to them dying from suicide. So they affected others. Now they have to know what it feels like to live with the after effect of somebody, their loved one, committing suicide. And then another thing that happens, maybe they were the reason someone committed suicide. You get to see things and experience things from those different perspectives. All right, that's part of rounding yourself out. So you move from an understanding to an overstanding. So you stand over. I'm no longer limited to just being in my physical body as what Noon likes. I could think of the bigger picture of what is good for all of us. All right. Or the purpose for the bigger picture. That's overstanding.
Oh wow.
And that's why, huh?
I said, no, I just, it's, it's as we're on this journey to, to know like what a shook is. And Baba keeps telling us that we just have to be who we already are, these beings. And it's just certain times when I hear different readings, it's characteristics that I'm like, oh yeah, I've always thought that way. Like, yeah, I never really wanted what was just best for me. I wanted everybody to eat, or I want everybody to have what they liked, or, like even with my wedding, they thought I was going to be a bridezilla at one time. And I was like, no, I just want everybody to have a good time. We're coming to celebrate with each other. Like, what would everybody else like to eat? Like, let's have a menu. Let's give options. Let's open a bar. I just wanted everybody to be happy at the time. And it's just so interesting that like we're all looking for these characteristics from our ancestors in us, and we already have them. But we just don't see it that way. We just think, oh, okay, we're just being fair. Oh, yeah, of course we want to make sure all the kids eat. But then you find out that, like, there's some people that don't care. There's some people that won't make sure that the elderly, gets taken care of and all the kids eat and make sure everything is how, it's just so interesting, like, to me, like, making the connections of the things that we do in our everyday lives is the reason why we're all here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, and the reality is that there's different natures of beings, because some beings they are just limited to Zupu, and then some people of the Nupu can be in aroma Zupu and they're rounding themselves out. They're buffing all those angles away. So, and the reality is that some of us may be further along. I remember Baba saying that some of us may be further along. You might be in a later incarnation than someone else. Rahul back, Corey.
Oh, my apologies.
Yeah. So it's like, that's the whole thing. But you can still acknowledge, like, that's another thing. Like, don't be a people pleaser either. Like, it's like you can still have your murad. Everybody's not your murad. Everybody's not your haboob. You don't like everybody. Everybody's not your darling. But that's not what's getting us there. What's getting us to the next stage is our ashuk. All right. Despite if that's your darling or you're attracted to that person, or, it's about what, if you can, if you're going to be in these angles, are you stuck on these angles? But you can still use them. Like, use the angles. All right. Acknowledge the angles. Like, we don't have hang-ups with our own nature and with nature. This is what I like. And in this realm, I'm going to be selfish. This is what works for me. But at times I have to decide, okay, this is not what works for everybody. Sometimes it works for everybody. Sometimes it doesn't. So Nupu takes us to the circle. It takes us to the 9. All right. And then we have our personal, Marur, we have our personal Habub and all that, all those layers. 95. The Shanan. So let me go back. So Nupu is the good force of 90, but that's positive. Note the shape of the letters. So he said, pay attention to the shape of the letters. And then you have Zupu, that's the evil or the 6 ether forces, that's negative or trapped. All right. And I'm also hearing Zu, as in Zu, as an animal, like the animal being, like we're animated. Some of us, I guess, stuck in the animations or the appearances of things. They can't go behind the 9-ball, so to speak. So
Can I be heard?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I read that part a little bit earlier, and I was thinking, looking at a W on its side and comparing it to the shape of the Z, you could say that the Z is cut off, or like a W cut in half.
Okay. That makes sense. Because Baba did explain that Zupu is cut, where Nupu can sometimes be blocked, but the connection is still there. They just have blockages. And Zupu, it would be considered cut off. So yeah, that's a good one. So Zu, and then out here animal. But Baba says, remember, the human being is also, you have the human animal. And we're just human animals, and to respect your nature, your likes, your dislikes, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. Stop having hang-ups about your own nature. However, you at different times, this is the realm that we're in. That's the purpose of that nature. And at another point, you have to stand over that nature. So you're not what is it called? You're not trapped by a certain nature, because there's times when it's time to put away certain things. It's time to come forward with certain things. All right. So the Zupa would be resistant to its stepping back and coming forward. All right, because it would be trapped in a certain state, And for us, we exist in multiple states. So I'm hearing all that. 95. The Shannon circle or orb is the favorite form of Panadaru or orb scientists, the 24 elders who keep up with the cycles, the planet, who keep up with the cycles over this planet. All right, there's a typo. Over this planet, which I am the 19th Yanun. So Baba's telling you he's the 19th elder. There's 24 in total. All right, and then you have 25 because there's a seat, and a different elder can sit in that seat depending on what's being taking place at that time. All right. So Baba is the man of the hour. So now that gives you another ring. Well, you always hear Baba being the man of the hour. Baba just said that 24 equals 1 mile. All right. So that's when that energy or that 24th sign comes forward. So we're in the sign of Yanun. Baba is the man of our hour. All right. He's the man of that 24th or whatever hour we're in. All right. He's the 19th elder. 96. We maintain the absolute nature is global. We maintain that absolute nature is global, the perfect round, because from any point whatsoever in eternal existence called infinite nature is the center of the roundness, or the kamem nakut, the black dots. The black dot. That's going to be another scroll we're going to read. Black dot helix. So from any point can be the center of that circle or the orb. Not just a circle, but an orb. Like this is an orb. If I make a dot here, all right, that can become the center, because then I'll just turn it towards that center. If I make the dot here, that becomes the center. So it doesn't matter how new that dot is or how old that dot is. It all taps into the same center. All right. Because it can become the center at any point. It can become the center at any point. And you'll never know, because you can shift the orb if it's a perfect roundness. All right. A square, you can't do that because when you shift it, you'll change the shape. All right. It would appear different. This can appear the same at all times from any point. All right. It could appear the same. How old, how young, it doesn't even matter. All right. When we deal with the center. So we maintain that absolute nature is global, the perfectly round, because from any point whatsoever in eternal existence called infinite nature is the center of roundness, or the kamem nakuts, the black dot. 97, because endlessness in omniverse is the same distance in all top shurats directions from you, the single point. All right. So whatever you are, we're talking about you, not you in this form. We're talking about you from this form, right? So no matter what point, it's always going to be the same distance. That's why Bible doesn't care about time. He doesn't care about like I was around. I mean, I've been reading Bible scrolls, let's say, since 2009. Let's just put me in that 2008, 2009. Some people, they might be like, well, I was born here. Another person, like, I just came in, I only read one paragraph. Bible doesn't care about any of that. It depends on how in touch with that black dot that you are. And this is the remembering tool. Bible says that this is for us to remember. All right. So if you could remember, it doesn't matter how long it took you to remember. It could take somebody a long time to remember what it took you just a moment to remember. All right. So there's protections in that black dot. All right. So 97, because endless in omniverse is the same distance in all top surats directions from you, the single point. 98, remember, my child, the center point you of a perfect ball or orb or circle or cycle is equidistant from all contours of the ball surface. So equidistance is another word to saying equal distance. So if I turn it this way, I'm talking about you, that other person. We turn to the center. I don't know the difference between I'm talking about me and I turn it to that center, because we all tell the same story. All right, that's the absolute truth. All right, and then this is absolute perspective. This is perspective. It's not. It's your side, my side. See, Bible said that when you tell a story, there's always your side, my side, and somewhere in the middle is the truth. Right? There's your side to the story, my side to the story. There's no side in the circle. There's no taking sides. There is no side to take, you know, in a circle. All right. So now we're going into that realm of, so when we talk about open the door towards him, because who in our language, it means him. Like it just happens to mean him. But who is also, it goes back into that creation, that breath of life. So who is really talking about man or you? Because when we say a man, we could be talking about a woman too. So open that door towards him. We're talking about open that door towards yourself. And Baba gives you the clue here. All right. And Baba says, if you look at the symbol from the P to the letter T, you'll notice the inwardness. The inwardness. All right. And there's women that read the scroll. There's men that read the scroll. We're still all taking that in a journey. All right. Because we're going back to that equidistance from all contours of the ball surface. 99. Now you know your purpose and reason of Taldad birth, to perfect your Mukwan being and world around you. All right. So if you're perfecting yourself, automatically you're perfecting the world around you. That's why I always say Tawahet to us who's all doing our very best to be the very best versions of ourselves in our one collective body. Because I'm thinking about what Baba just said. When you're perfecting yourself, you're actually perfecting the world around you. All right. And if you think of yourself as part of the all. All right. So how do I know these many things, you ask? 101. Well, I was there, which is here, when the word was spoken, Akwan exists. So Baba's saying, I was here, which was there. All right, that's how he knows. And guess what? That's where he's taking you to, so you can know as well. And Baba says, take that journey inward. All right. We can't lie to ourselves. This is not something you can fake. You can't fake knowing this. I can memorize this scroll. Doesn't mean I know what he's talking about. All right. So I was there, which is here, when the word was spoken. Akun exists. 102. So you, Panagaru Negroids, have been given your assignments, and Taha, earth is your post to labor. 103. And I am your Munzar, warner, bringing you Wunuwap, giving you the key to return home to Najamat, stars from where your souls have come. All right, so now we are just hearing this. All right, if you really assimilate this lesson, you realize that once you master what Baba's talking about, you've already, because Baba said, once you put that center, that dot, from any point, it doesn't matter where it is, from that center is all going to be equidistant. So you just master time travel. Because if I put this dot right here, and there's a dot way over there, we're automatically related if we are existing all on that circle. So now, and then also, I'm tapping into telepathy because I have all wisdom of this whole circle. From this little dot, I have the wisdom of the whole circle. All right. What else have I mastered here? Traveling the stars, because we could look at stars as nuts. She houses all those little dots, which is representing dots. That's the house. And then we also hear Heru, the house of forest. All right. And we can embody the all. We can embody all that ever is, all that will be, because stars are being birthed and dying all the time. So we've just mastered so much. All right. Just in mastering being a circle, being a perfect circle, a perfect sphere. We just checked off so many things, right? So 103. I am your Munzar Warner, bringing you Wunuwap, giving you the key to return home to the Najamat, stars, where your souls are from. What does Baba say? Live by soul, not spirit. All right. Your spirit is what, I have my own nature, my own vibe, my own flavor. That's my spirit. My soul, that's the element behind. All right. That's that ingredient behind. So we don't want to be trapped by just our spirit, my likes, my dislikes, my identity. You got to even at one point, you're going to outgrow your identity itself. 104. For your body was grown here to be returned as Mundaru. Mundaru. All right. So that's our goal, to become ones who are nature. Mu means a person. Nadar. All right. That's the overseers. All right. So we are to be returned. We came here and we return as an Nadaru. 105. If you wish to have your vibratory gland reactivated, come to Wunuwap. It's your third eyesight. Your third eyesight. All right. So people coming in here, and I tell you, Baba's pointing you back to Paut. And then somebody's like, oh, they love to say, what is it? Baror, 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 nabab, natar, mutar. Nahut mutar badet patah. Nahut muklas badet yanu. It means no God except Patah, no Savior except Yanu. But Patah is an action, one who is opening. And then we talk about opening your third eye. That's why Baba called this the Miptah. This is a Miptah. And then a Mip, M-I, means a thing. So the base word of this is still Patah. So it's a thing of opening. That's really is, and it's symbolic for your third eye. Goes into your pineal gland and all that. Then you have so if you can have a mipta, that lets you know you can have a mukta. A mukta, that is one who has opened. So that's a person who's doing it. So that's up to you to exercise your own. You have to reactivate the own functions in your own body. So no God except Patah. So if you haven't taken responsibility to open yourself up, then you'll be trapped here. So when somebody's trying to take your divinity outside of you, they're trying to take that from you and put it outside yourself. All right. And they spookify our doctrine. All right. We're going to make it real. And the only way you can make it real is if you start with yourself. All right. Because you can't lie to yourself and you take responsibility. Because respond. All right. And to grow, to regrow. All right. So remember, other Salalu races only go up to 7 sites called chakras, while you, Panadaru, I keep saying Panadaru, Panagaru. To me, there's no accident that they sound so similar. So Panagaru, the Negroids, have 9 sites or seats. All right. So these are physical seats and sites inside yourself. It lets you know you can travel further than others. All right. And NASA actually uses genetics from Black women. NASA actually uses our genetics. There's one particular woman, there's probably more, but there's one, Henrietta Lacks, and they call her DNA hella technology. Hella technology is in space. All right. So it's something with the seats, the genetics. It goes further, it stretch further. Yes, Zamal, Chief Indigo. Chief Indigo. It's you. All right. Okay. So let's see, where are we? So you are not the same. So Baba says the other races have up to 7. You have 9. All right. 9 seats or sites or energy centers. 107. You are not the same as those grafted from you. 108. First, it was you alone on this planet for many millions of years. It was a black planet. 110. Next, from you were the Aborigine, from which is now called Southeast Asian or Australian. And then they bred and moved north from island to island until they end up in what is called India. All right. And then came the Asiatics from Far East, ranging from what is called today Mongolia, China, Korea, down to Vietnam and the nearby islands, such as Philippines and Japan. All right. So Indians, for example, Baba says that's why nobody can help you except your own. So when India is talking about the Indians, they're teaching their form of yoga, and they're teaching about the 7 chakras. They're not lying. It's just not for you because they're talking about their own system. All right. And that's good for them. And they're still animists because that's still animism, but they have their limits. All right. And for you, you realize that you have more keys. All right. To visit more existence, because you need at least 7 ether to reincarnate, Bible says, and we all do, of natural nature. Just you go further. All right. So 112. The mixture of the Aborigines is the Javaru Indians. The Eastern Asians birthed many subgroups. 113 later, much later, the human beasts of northeast descended upon them. 114 they were the diseased, cursed lepers of Europe who raped, killed, and plundered their way westward through Arabia and northward, birthing many sub-breeds of Portugal, Spain, French, Italy, Germany, Poland, Scotland, and Iceland, from island to island, land to land, mixing their Celtic cursed genes. All right, so now we're hearing a whole different stories of different natures. So we have our natural beings of nature, and you have just the natural, like us being the first, let's say as Nagaru. Then we start to just go through natural shifts and changes. Things start to downgrade, but it's still considered natural. All right. It's just one has a more complete. And then you have the last one, which is actually unnatural. And then they went and they start infecting their DNA or their disease into all others, because they made sure to mix in with all others, creating many subgroups, all right, from that. Then finally, back in 115, so finally back in and around the outskirts of Africa, as Kaanu, Canaanites, Moabites, Ammonites, and Shashasu, Israelites, from North Africa to westernward. All right, so you go to parts of Africa, especially the outskirts. They weren't able to, Bobby explained the other scroll, that they couldn't make their way deep into Africa, which is why they sent the Moors and, those of us who converted to different things. They sent them in because they couldn't go in. But throughout the outskirts, you see that, you see evidence of their influence, all right, genetically, and then also spiritually, all right. 116. So from Kamam, Egypt, to Morocco, as Berbers or savage barbarians, spreading his disease and opinions, the birth of Za'am, religion, opinion. All right. So Baba uses religion and opinion interchangeably. All right. This is where you're stuck in your opinion. Because I have my opinions. That's why Baba says it's good to keep your opinions to yourself. But as a naturally, I'm going to have my likes, what I like, who I like, but that's not going to be true all the time. Like, for example, there might be a substance that's not good for my body, but that substance may be good for other people's bodies. It might be good for other people. It's just not good for me. I shouldn't eat this food. So I start having my opinion about, and that it gives birth to religion. I start to try to impose my nature and my opinions instead of respecting nature. And that's why Bible always teaches us to each his own. We need to learn to respect. We don't go and we take the lion and try to make it act like a human. Right? We respect the nature within nature. All right. So the religion opinions gave birth to the Za'am, religion and opinion. 117, religions of Islamism, from Christism to Mosesism to Abrahamism, who were warlike people. 118, so you must clean yourself inside out and outside in, if you wish to be restored as Muntar, a child of Nadars, overseers. All right, so you want to be restored. So we see, because we would be lying to ourselves if we say that we have no growth that's needed. We'd be lying to ourselves to say we have none of this genes or presentation in some shape or form. We would be lying to ourselves. All right. Self-hate, whatever it is, we would be lying to ourselves. So we must clean ourselves up. inside out. There's healing to be done. 119. You need hakaktal hakakat, actual facts, and patarak, the way, our own way, not others. You need wunuap to be nuapu nuapian, speaking nuapui nuapic, your own tone. 121. Afafre ka, Africa is not your only home. 122. The whole kawak taha, planet Earth, once belonged to you alone, not just one continent. 123. Then you shared it, and those that come from you, and you shared it with those that come from you. 124. Now they seek to rule it as their own and use it as a tool or weapon to help you kill and rob all others as his kakas or Caucasoid pets. All right, so you doing things for his approval. He made you into his pet. All right. 125. He gives you a mental or physical uniform and religion, and you fall asleep into his mind, and you removed out your own mind. 126. Remember, you don't need them, they need you. 127. You can live under the direct rays of Pareye, the sun. You can drink water anywhere on the planet without kafaf, fear of Mawat's death. And once your immune system is re-strengthened, you will remove them out of your system. All right, so a lot of us, we're in this genetic war. Bible said we're going through genetic wars. That's why we don't get along. We have all this competition. We having problems with our own selves. That's all the genetic war. We're fighting our immune system. All right, see which one's going to win. All right. So once our immune system is restored, you will be restrained. You will remove them out of your system. All right. It becomes very challenging because you're fighting against a certain nature that has been implanted. So it's like, let's just say I shouldn't be drinking this soda, but I'm addicted to soda. All right. You're fighting. All right. But eventually you're going to remove them once your immune system or your willpower, think of your immune system is also equal to your willpower. You strengthening your willpower to finally let them go. All right. To remove them, you have to let go of them. But it's hard to let go of addictions. You're addicted to competing. You're addicted to gossiping. You're addicted to looking out just for yourself. All right. You're addicted to so many things. 128. You were grown on the richest and best part of this planet Earth called Afafre Ka, Africa today. And all the insects and all the animals are your Muzdaku, friends. All right, that's why the insects, Baba explained, protected Africa. That's why Africa still stands if it wasn't for the insects. That's why it's a sacred symbol for us. So we are at peace with nature. All right, we are at peace with the animals, the insects. Doesn't mean we go pet a lion, but we respect nature. All right, and nature in turn respects us, looks out for us. 129. Then you decided to move eastward on the planet, mixing your Kahen divine genes, becoming sick and diseased by the cursed seed. All right, most of us on this platform at this particular time, most of us are not in Africa. Most of us, we have moved eastward and then on to other parts of the world by choice or by force. So this applies to us, all right? So we removed and we mixed our divine genes and we became sick and diseased by the curse seed. 130, this is number 24. What does it mean to you now that you know? 131, the orb is a sequence of circles as in an atom to form a ball. The element fluoride or fluorine, Hasmuni. Fluorine is the ninth element on the elemental chart. Fluorine, number 9, is a gaseous chemical. Known what each means to you. All right. So now Bob is saying, take time to study what each element means to you. Bobby explains fluorine in another scroll. How fluoride it taps into the consciousness and not how they put people to sleep. But fluoride or fluoride, the you have that's the eighth element. I'm sorry, that's the ninth element, and then the etheric counterpart is actually 9 ether. All right, like 8 ether, because everything has an etheric counterpart. So it's just interesting how they tap into that ether to affect the consciousness of the 9 ether beings to make them more controllable. All right. So take time to study each gaseous chemical. Bible says, take time to know what each one means to you, how each one affects your being. All right. 133, each element grows in different forms, yet each is circular as your body systems. All right. So if something is similar to your body, you know it could affect it. No one has come that was able to warn you. No one has come that was able to warn you and teach you the master secrets. So don't duck when I throw these hakakats, facts at you. Mind your akal mind for the jewels of your soul, and know the kadash secret of argan oil for your youthful skin and more. All right. I remember argan oil. So you can go through Baba's different scrolls throughout the years. This one, he talks about the power of argan oil. All right. It's beautiful on your skin. It's great on your skin. But you can look up Baba just talked about the different chemicals, all right, that makes up the world and planet. So we can look at what's the components of argan oil, all right, because it's great for our skin to keep us aging much more slowly. But he says, and more. So we can take time to get to know that. There's a lot of substances Baba has said that we can take. When I say substances, I'm talking about food, like sustenance. Food, okay, mushroom, like reishi mushroom, Baba explained, helps with the focus of your brain. And it's not psychedelics, but like actual, you can actually take a little bit. Different types of magnesium, all these types of things, Baba said. But you have to first look it up. You have to look up what each one does, the effects it has on you, so you can learn to respect yourself again. Respect yourself means doing what's best for your body and your nature, all right, and what you want to bring forward. So that means the beginning. That's the beginning. Baba says that's the beginning. And that's how we end that scroll, says the beginning. So the floor is open, and I would love for people to just share what comes to mind. I can hear I'm stepping away, so please, if anybody has any questions stand out, just feel free to share. I'm listening. All right. So let me start maybe by asking a question. So, okay. So what element did Baba mention from the periodic table, and why did he mention that element as it relates to the number 24?
It was chromium.
Mm-hmm.
24.
And why? How does it, what's this function?
Um, the function.
To keep
It
from
was something. Go ahead.
life to creator. It helps
Repeat
things
that.
not deteriorate, or I don't. It's like a C word that he used.
Corrosion.
Corrosion.
Yes, yes. So it helps to protect against corrosion. And where do you find chromium naturally? Anybody remembers? So Baba says that you find it naturally in the African genetics, and you also find it in different elements in nature. But it's already existing in us, he said. All right. And that's not necessarily in everybody's genetics. So let's see what else. Can somebody explain to me Zupu versus Nupu?
So Zupu would be the beings who have the 6 ether genes or the 6 ether forces, and the Nubu would be, or Nupu would be those who have the non-ether genes or forces.
Yes, okay. And can you tell me a little bit about the shape? The difference in the shape of the two?
If I'm going off of memory, which it wasn't it a square and a circle? One
Yeah.
would have the square would be those who have that the inability to center out, which would be the Zupu beings, and the circle or rounded out beings would be the Nupu or Nubu beings.
Mm-hmm.
Is that on point?
Yep, that's great. And then what's the outcome for the two?
What do you mean by the outcome?
So what's the consequence for each being? So anybody else? All right.
Question again?
Again,
Say that one more time.
Dua.
Zamal Patah.
But I was asking to repeat your
Oh, my
question.
question is, okay, so phase one, he just explained the difference between the Zupu forces and the Nupu forces. So I said, so then what's the consequence of the Zupu and what's the consequence of the Nupu?
I'm going off of memory as well.
Mm-hmm.
The Nupu beings actually get to physically reincarnate to return back to the stars, and the Nupu beings, don't they just like, well, I'm going to use the word ghosts because I remember reading that Patarak, but they like dissipate.
Okay, that's good. So the Zupu deals with being trapped. So it's like that being is trapped. And then the Nupu, they can relate no matter where they are to all dots. So yep, that's good. Yeah. So we're gonna go on to this is a 2-in-1 scroll. So we're gonna go into the next scroll. If anybody has anything that sometimes it's a lot to take in, so it's okay if we're quiet because we're absorbing as well. We're digesting. So I'm gonna stop this recording and then I'm gonna start recording the other one. Oh, Rahabat Ladil Zamal.
Peace. I had a question.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really want to change the topic or nothing. I was just curious. Is there a difference? I've heard of the 23 scientists and the 24 elders. Is there a difference, and what are they, if anyone?
Okay. The question's open to the platform. Who would like to speak on that?
You probably noticed how that happened too. We just did that interview, and I was addressing somebody referring to themselves as one of the 23 scientists who created the cosmos. And here we are reading it, and the man has a way of doing that, by the way. So I hope y'all are paying attention every time that happens, just so you can know what that psychic communication is about and being in tune with the overseers is about, because all of it is happening on two different fields: the game field that's on the grounds and the game field that's above the grounds. there are seats, right? There are 24 seats that are moving around the center seat or Elokut, and that Elokut or the center seat is called the 25th seat, which is where you have Dr. Malachi York sitting. The 19th elder, as Yanun, also moves on into that 25th seat. So when people are saying 23, most of the time it's because they only would be able to see 23 in the holy tablets from what they were able to pick up on. They're not equating the fact that the 24th seat is often vacant. Why? Because that seat is reserved for the one that's referred to as the Ilamut Tajesida. All right? And that Ilamut Tajesida, the avatar with you, that is able to incarnate whoever that interchangeable science would be, will have the role of guiding in that regard. You understand? Not only does that seat change as far as who's occupying it, because somebody said, I'm the ninth elder. Okay, so you're always the ninth elder? Because when you're talking about ninth, you're talking about a seat or a role or a position. Okay? Anybody that knows when they get to speaking on who and what they are, you're never being one thing. Okay? And when you're in that order, you're always shifting. So all of the seats are shifting. So the only difference would be somebody's awareness of what they're talking about. So when somebody calls themselves one of the 23 elders, I know the difference between 24 and 23. They're really biting their own tongue, because if you really knew the difference between 24 and 23, well, then you wouldn't discount the 24th and you wouldn't discount the 25th, okay, which is the central seat, which all of us are moving around, or all of those beings will be moving around if they're of those elders. That makes sense to you? So if you walk in a room and you see 24 seats, all right, and somebody says, I'm of the 23 seats, does that make sense?
So it's like a title and a position.
It is a title and a position and a task. So if the fifth seat is to say that you're holding the forces of the planet Earth together, and the seventh seat is to say you're here to teach those who wanted to learn meditation, transcendental meditation, and the chakras and all of that. All right. And the ninth seat is you're here to give people the science of the sun and beyond, which would be Nuwupu or Nuwapu, right? If these different seats are, I'm just giving examples, tasks that have to come with it. You have to get those tasks done when you occupy these seats. And you're counting these seats out. And you say, okay, there are 24 seats, but there's a seat in the center that people don't even count, which is the 25th seat, right? If somebody's saying they are of the 23 seats, they're missing 2 seats. And the only way that you would know if you're missing 2 seats would be whether or not you paid attention to the minor details, because you might have read a small part of the Holy Tablets, which is what he did, and then you didn't read the end. Because in the end, you'll find out who he actually is, which is the center, the dot. Okay? So they're not even counting that seat. So I know why you're asking that. And all of it is confusion. That's what people are trying to split it up and say, oh, I'm doing a new thing. I have the real truth. But they only get in that one. They don't even know that 24 is found even in Hinduism. That same science.
Are they referring to the same like position? Say like the 20, like the seventh or the seventh seat. Are the scientists and the elders, are they the same? They referring to the same thing?
So I like to comment on that.
Okay, go ahead.
So if you just go back to the different energies, and we're talking about beings who came from us, who would have potency, but a lesser down potency. And remember, I gave the example of how, let's say you go study with the Hindus, and they teach you about the 7 chakras. They're not lying to you. They're talking about their seats, but you have an additional other seats. So what ends up happening is that there's really no equivalent. There's just different natures. So when you try to say, okay, this equals that, you have so much more history, so much more material, so much more seats, so much more energy sites. Baba calls them sites, right? Sites, he calls them seats. So in reality, another being will have 23. But remember what Baba said makes us unique? Baba said that we have the chromium in our genetic that keeps us from corrosion. And we're the only ones that exist in these different states at all these different times. Others play their part, and they either get pulled back into us or they fade away, if that makes sense. So a lot of the time, huh?
I hear you. I'm getting you.
Yeah, so a lot of the times when you try to find an equivalent, and that's the whole thing, Baba went to different, wherever his people were, he spoke in a language that can pull people out. But what people ended up doing, that's why Bible said to continue to walk with him. What people ended up doing was they get a little fish that they like, and they actually become a Zupu being because they get trapped. And the thing is, you need 24 accomplishments, not 23. Now, let's just say it doesn't mean that just because you're Zupu doesn't mean that you're a bad person, but maybe that's just as far as your genetics go. So if that makes sense. Because
Yeah.
Bible said everybody can go to all the sites by their genetic makeup.
To it. And watch this, y'all. That's why I was telling everybody when I did that interview. I said, listen, you're being called. You think this is just me talking about this person? No, you're being called back to the center. We come in here and we read it. What is it about? The center. What he also mentioned, the 24 elders or the 24 scientists. You know what I mean? What happens is when you really learn the center, which is what I've been teaching a lot of people, and I haven't read these books, but I was giving this word to ear or mouth to ear. You understand that? People who walk with the master teacher, there were things that he was teaching them that he didn't put in the books, which is the grace in it all. Because a lot of those things were given to me, and then he's coming around and saying it all together. Just like we just read, when you're able to censor yourself out, you can be like what Bruce Lee said, be water. And you're able to morph and transform and take on any form of different religions and da-da-da-da-da. That's what we were being taught. That's the boule. That's the well-rounded. That's the ball. All right, that's the 360, 360, 720, 720 to 1440, 1440. Does that make sense? So it's all of that. If you can at least acknowledge that some people have said, like she said, the sister said, they take this piece and they say, I'm going to run with this. And they ran with it and they did become Zupu or Subu or whatever they want to call themselves. They became that and they got stuck over there. And then what winds up happening is we say, okay, look, come back to the center. And because they love the illusion of the reality that they built up in that square, they say, no, this is all it is to it. I just got my square. We know they square and we know the circle too. And we say, look, you got to come back to the center. All right. Even if you turn that square or that cube about itself, all right, it becomes a sphere. Everything. That's why he's explaining it. Everything in nature is in its essence global. You understand? Once you learn that, then it's like, okay, everything that has been taken, you can bring it right back to the center. Truth always finds its way back to the center. So don't ever let anybody confuse you. And one way that you can make sure nobody confuses you is ask them questions and make sure that whatever answer they give you, it either checks out, meaning you're able to go and collect information on it physically yourself, or it checks out etherically, that you're able to pay attention to even your goosebumps or whatever happens when somebody speaks or the shudders you get inside, and you can realize, okay, something about what they just told me activated something in me. You understand that? So don't let anybody confuse you. These numbers, they don't know what they're talking about. If they don't remember the center, which is that even when you say the 25th seat, which is the center, which most people will not talk about because they don't count that. If you count that center 2 + 5, you get 7. That's the 7-letter G. And the G, the capital G, is also assigned to go right back to the central point. So read in the back of the Holy Tablets, and he talks about him being that center. Don't ever forget that he's the center. If you never forget that, you'll always remember El Qadir, the green light, and you won't fall into the red zone. It's simple like that.
I have a word. So something that was just sparked by some keywords. I think the words were split, chair, and the whole going back and forth about the 24. So I went to Google the movie Split, and remember they were talking about that the main character really having 24 different personalities and that he was schizophrenic. It made me think about how they call Pops schizophrenic and how people also have their own accounts of basically him not being the same being all the time and having those different seats being filled at different times. And I remember, I only saw the movie like once or twice, I don't remember exactly, but they even said that different people, different identities, different personalities were taking the seat, and the seat was in the middle. That was my gem.
You know where they get that from? They get that from Pops. Different people come in and out of here to talk to y'all at different times. That's him. And they did try to say he's schizophrenic, he's crazy. All these movies, from the Spy Kids Game Over to the movie Knowing, where they had a little girl who was schizophrenic, to the movie Split, right, where they kept speaking about the beast also. They always want to pervert the science, like when the sister was talking about the 666 with the Hebrew language, right? They always want to pervert the science. Go watch the movie End of Days, and they say, oh, the real number of the devil is 999, because that's what they try to do with the truth. And that's why, and anybody, one more thing I'll say, everybody keep up with it. I know some of y'all be like, okay, I already know Faith what he's talking about, and you don't think you needed to watch the interview. But if you didn't watch that interview, you're not on point right now. You may not be up to it. There's a lot going on that's being said that if you just watch and pay attention, you have to ask yourself, how come when I said all of that in that interview, did we come in here and read this, and he came and said everything I just said? Why? That's what you need to be paying attention to, because look in those directions. If these stars round up and they start talking and they start speaking, the reason why we had to pop out there, because they said Dr. York, and you see Jake, and he come out, he starts speaking, and he has to mention his father. But the first time in history, he has to actually speak on his father in a positive way. Y'all need to be keeping up and paying attention. You think something is set in stone already. It's not. Everything that you think you know is shifting, especially about me. It's shifting. All right. So just keep paying attention to the synchronicities, and you'll land right back in the center. That's what it's all about.
All right. So we're gonna go to the next scroll called the Matrix. Unless anybody has anything else to say about this, the first part of the scroll, because there's two scrolls in one. So this one was Birth of Earth. All right. So yes, Zamal.
Thank you for everything so far.
Zamal Chief, you sound real muffled.
I'm sorry. It's been helping me out a lot. Just thank you. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, I can't really comprehend what you're saying. This sounds muffled to me.
Very low.
All right. So I'm gonna.
I heard that he basically said thank you all. It's helped him a lot.
Oh, good. All right. Tower hat,
Can I be
Zamal.
heard?
Yes, you can.
I was talking with I don't want to blow the spot up, but like we've been getting together, like we've been secretly getting together, reading scrolls together. It is what it is, Nanta. It is what it is. We still enjoy your readings, but we need
No,
more.
you
We need more.
should.
Yeah.
I
So,
don't have a monopoly on the scrolls.
all right. So we've been doing that, and we stayed up all night. I had to be up at 4 a.m. and I stayed until I couldn't stay anymore. It was so good, and everything we talking about here is what we was talking about last night, and it's so amazing. So when FaZe made that point about just being in tune, and we texting it like, dang, we was just talking about that. We was just talking about that last night. It's amazing. I also had a question.
Mhm.
Does anyone know how much how you say Negroid soul weighs?
Oh, how much the soul weighs? I heard that question before. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know if they
24
have one.
grams.
Right,
Say it
24
again.
grams.
24
24
grams.
grams. Oh,
How
yeah.
amazing. 24.
Okay. Tower hat for sharing that. We could break that down more. I would like for you to build on that more, because I did hear that before, and I want to know how they measured that. Actually, if you want to talk about that now before we read the other scroll,
Oh,
feel
hold on.
free.
I didn't get that far now, but
I
we was
heard
reading
something.
it.
My bad.
Yeah, go ahead.
I heard something about so some scientists did an experiment where they did somebody volunteered to get their body for at their moment of the death, wait to put them on this scale to weigh them, and at the moment when they went flatline, they said they lost like a few, like 20 some ounces or something. 20. I don't really know the number.
Okay, so they took the weight before and after. Okay, that sounds familiar, actually. Okay, all right, Tower hat. So I'm gonna. Oh, Rahubat Zamaltat Rempet Shapsa Samuntat.
Rahubat. Is there a scroll? Is there somewhere where Baba wrote that? Because I think that does sound familiar. I was just trying to remember. Scrolls.
Ashuktui put it in the chat because I was asking more about one of the seats. We were talking about the seats, and that's why I read all of that about the 25 seats, how Baba's in the center, and how much our soul weighs. It's The 24 elders. It's the part 1.
Oh,
I'll find
okay.
it and put it back in here if that
Okay.
works.
Okay.
It's always good
Perfect.
to reference. So I think it's always good to reference what Baba wrote. Also, what I want to say, just listening to everyone, it's important to read. Baba is our guide. He implores us to read and study. He's the one he sent here for us. I mean, it's good that it's good that you can listen to someone else, tell you things, and they may even be in alignment with what Baba is teaching us, but they can't take you as far as Baba's going to take us. So the bottom line is he's our spiritual guide and our master teacher. So read what he wrote, and you're going to get way more. Another thing too is that no one else can have your DNA explosions for you. So it's like no one telling you what this is. This information is going to, take you as far as the master teacher and our spiritual guide himself. He said it's his voice that is designed to activate certain things in us. It's how the information comes through him that causes us to have these DNA explosions. So, and that's not to say that you can't be in tune and receive information, because he also teaches us that. And he also teaches us that he's here to guide us until we remember how to guide ourselves again. So, just want to put that out there again. So although we're, here reading, the scrolls together, that it's important to read them, on your own as well.
No, that's powerful. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate that too. So we're going to
I have
stop
a
it for you. Sure.
what does the prefix Wu mean?
WU.
Yeah, what does it mean? The prefix.
WU. It translates in our Lahaj as and, just like it just means and, but is there more to it? I'm gonna leave that for Rempesh Samun to answer. I'm putting you on the spot, Rempesh.
Okay. Also, Rempet. Also, can you answer what does Nupu mean? Like NUPU.
Well, Baba talked about it in another scroll, so we'll pull that up. Nupu was talked about in one of the other actual facts. Now, there's many layers to our Lahaj, our language, and our the title Nuwapu, because Baba says that Nuwapu is protected. So he didn't really give the real meaning, but you could break it down in so many ways. I think that were you here earlier when we talked about, let me see if it was defined. I think it was defined somewhat in this scroll. No, not in this scroll. But in other scrolls it's gonna be. All right, so yes, Zamanta. I want to like end this one so I could start reading the other one. So let me just end this live and then I'll unmute and then we can continue talking. All right. So just give me one moment. Let me end this.